What is the price of your peace? He stood with his back to Abasu, 9 paces forward. His gold-trimmed black cloak fluttered and rustled in the midnight wind, seeming to cast an almost intangible silhouette against the moon. Abasu stopped. What was this question? Mind games, maybe? He offered no explanation to the man before him. Rather, he took another step forward as the cloaked figure spoke again. How many need suffer and die for your vision of a utopia that cares not for them? How many need to fall to the wayside so you can say that you brought peace? The last 3 words seemed to thud with each syllable, echoing across the moonlit sky. Abasu felt his heart wavering, and an uneasiness creeping into his bones. No, he didn't have time for this. Turn around, coward, and be brought to your knees honorably. Thousands have died by your hand, and the bells are tolling. The cloakman chuckled, his shoulders bouncing as he turned his head to the sky. Then, in an exaggerated spin on the ball of his heel, he spun around to face Abasu. His face was concealed by a circular mask split into 3 segments. In the top 2 segments, 2 eyes stared back at him, seeming to glow as the silhouette was cast into glorious radiance by the moonlight at his back. The mask had no mouth, no nose, only eyes. Take off the mask, now. No, I don't think I will. Unlike you who parades around for the sake of fame, I make my sacrifices in anonymity. Abasu filled with rage. This villain, trying to call his own acts into question? Outstretching his hand, he lunged forward, attempting to rip off the mask. With a scrape and a flash, his hand thudded to the ground, followed by a spray of blood from the stump of his arm. Crying out, he clutched his arm and looked to the man, fury brimming in his eyes. The masked man slowly, methodically sheathed his sword back into its sheath. Abasu, drawing on all of his immense power, thrust out the stump of his arm. A new hand knitted itself seemingly out of nothing in a matter of moments, and he flexed it. He strode closer to the masked man with an aura of power and command seeming to form around him. His voice boomed as his eyes seemed to glow. Who do you think you are? The masked man did not back down. Rather, he walked up to meet Abasu, nearly chest to chest. Hero and villain only a foot apart. Those 2 were the same height, and the masked man stared directly into his eyes. They call me Robespierre. Do you know how many have died by your hand alone, Robespierre? Robespierre stared him down. Abasu seemed to shrink in that moment, as the mask bore into him. Not a day goes by I don't hate myself for the thousands that have died because of me. But they were sacrifices, not vain casualties. Sacrifices so that you heroes, you saviors of mankind, wouldn't abuse your powers like you have, and so that millions more wouldn't die when brought to your utopias. Abasu glared at him, but Robespierre continued. I was 12 when I learned the truth. 3 days before my birthday. What are you talking about? Robespierre dismissed his question. I adored you heroes back then, idolized you, loved you, wanted to be you. I was naive. You can imagine my childish glee when I found myself in the thick of the fight, the battle between the heroic Abasu and the evil villain. I was in awe of the lights, the sounds, the sheer magnitude of it. It was so beautiful. Do you remember that moment too, Abasu? When in your epic battle you wrenched that great tower from the ground and hurled it at your foe. Your invulnerable enemy could not be harmed by such force. You knew it as well as he did. The tower broke in 2 pieces against the building behind it, and they all crashed to the ground. Did you ever stop to consider that while you and he may have been comfortable with all of your invincibility, the people below were not? I remember that moment. All that was left of my mother was a mangled arm, and I was one of the lucky ones. You tore families apart by simply existing in a moment. Ruined lives and killed friends, family, children. And in the end, you got a medal, and I got sent to the orphanage. Abasu remained silent. He had no retort, no heroic response, because what could he say? In truth, he did not remember that day. That same scene happened so many times across so many places. You heroes, you caused so much death and suffering simply by existing. You heroes, you caused so much death and suffering simply by existing, never truly considering the power of your powers. You were supposed to protect us, and you tore us apart. Do you really think it's a surprise that the common people, the mere mortals, would grow restless and sick of your abusement of power? Robespierre stood at the edge of the building, looking down at the street far below, almost contemplating it. He then turned on the ball of his heel to face Abasu. You know why I fight, just like the people of this world do. You and your superpowered comrades brand me a villain, because I was the one who was brave enough to stand up first to challenge your authority. But to the people, to the men, women, and children you are sworn to protect, held responsible to serve, I am their hero. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Everything I use is in the description below. If you have a story you'd like to hear narrated, please let me know and I'll contact the author and we'll see if we can make that happen. Thanks again for watching. It's a scary world out there, but remember to look up and seek the stars.